It is 3 o'clock by my watch. So I'd like to call the Finance Committee of the Keystone Central School Board of Directors, October 22nd, 2024 committee meeting order. So with that being said, do you have any presentations? Move us on to the hearing of any visitors we may have. It looks like we have a couple people on there. Is there anybody that would like to have any comments at this point? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to our agenda items. Number one, first one is title funding, and I think this was a request from Elizabeth to find out, have a little bit of background on exactly what title money, how it's spent for different, there's different ones. There's Title I, Title II, Title IV, and they all can be used for specific uses, specific things. So I don't know. There is an attachment here that kind of gives you an overview of those. And Jody, do you want to walk through that?
Actually, that's Justin.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
I'm giving it to the right and off to the wrong person.
But if she wants to,
No.
by all means. No, so
That's right. This is Justin.
so I had put together based on the last 3 years, just to get an idea of what we get allocated for federal funding. So this is our title funds. So that first slide there that you're looking at. So for the last 3 school years, you can see 3 years ago, we were at 1.9, a little over 1.9 million total allocation. Most recently for this year, we're sitting at 1.8 million for our allocation. So that's our total allocation. And then that gets broken down by Title I, II, and IV. So some of that big pot of money, it's pretty much divvied out to us, which this is how much you can spend for Title I, this is your allotment for Title II, and this is for Title IV. So as far as that, you can see the bulk of that money goes to Title I, and I can explain a little further what that is. So our funding on the next slide, if you look at Title, yes.
Sorry. Is the only reason why the amount's gone down?
Yes, and I'll get to that on
Oh,
the next
okay,
slide.
never mind.
Yep.
Go ahead, sorry.
So when we look at Title I, that's where the bulk of our money is allocated. So it's based upon our economically disadvantaged population. So that's what qualifies a school for Title I funding. So if we were a extremely wealthy area, we wouldn't qualify for that Title I funding based upon our student enrollment. And that comes from that October 1 snapshot. And it's, again, you could look at that as that free and reduced lunch rate. Mm-hmm. So the magic number is that 40% threshold or more of poverty of what they consider the economically disadvantaged population. So the purpose of Title I is really instructional focused. It's to assist students in meeting performance standards and learning the content. So it's really intense with instructional support. So I have on there, all of our elementaries meet the criteria to be supported with Title I funding. So we, in the past, have used Title I funds for like classroom size reduction, things of that nature to support instruction. Currently, we pay for salary and benefits for 9 interventionists and 5 title assistants. We also have to fund our non-public schools where our students go. So we do send some funds, and we do send like an interventionist. When I say funds, the interventionist goes to Lock Haven Catholic. We also supplement some of their professional development and different things where our students attend. So right now, the importance of having that really strong Tier 1 core instruction. So we've talked about that before when we have looked at curriculum and programs and the implementation. So having that really strong core instruction for all students. And then what this does is adds that layer of intervention that we can provide to struggling students. And it can be any student that's in that school. So those interventionists provide specific targeted instruction based around the curriculum and the core standards. So when we're looking at, talk about early intervention and we talk about like foundation of reading. So the blends, sounds, things of that nature that students would get one-on-one or small group instruction with our interventionists to help supplement what they're learning in the classroom.
Justin, are these? I know it used to be that they could only work with certain students. I'm assuming that all these are school-wide schools.
Yeah. So through this, they're able to work with our student population. Yes.
Okay.
So it's all data driven. So as teachers recognize students and they're very transient groups. So if I was a student and I was struggling with specific sounds or blends or content that's being taught by the regular classroom teacher, then I could go, those elementary schedules have what's called the win period, what I need. And so every day that those interventionists have groups of students that they see throughout the day, they pull those students, work with them just to give them that extra dose. And then when they're seeing that progress, they either no longer are in need of that service or they might move on to a different skill. So I can tell you, like having a child that is in second grade at Mill Hall benefited greatly through intervention services for his foundational literacy skills.
Could you explain to me, please, if it's possible, explain to me briefly what a interventionist and what a title assistant is?
Okay, so an interventionist is a teacher who specifically works with groups of students to reinforce instruction. So they wouldn't be a general classroom. So they wouldn't be a general classroom teacher such as like a first grade teacher, second grade teacher. They're a certified teacher to be able to teach the content, but their specific role is targeted intervention.
Okay.
Are these all pullouts or do they go into the
So,
classroom?
they do a little bit of both. I know like at the start of the year, we send them in to the kindergarten classrooms because of the high need of support to help with just getting students
Doing the assessments?
acclimated. They do the assessments, our school-wide assessments that we administer in the fall, winter, spring. They help with monitoring those students, doing progress monitoring. So it's very, very critical to our to support our core instruction and have that support in place.
Okay, thank you. And what's a title assistant?
So a title assistant would be a non-certified teacher. So kind of like a support employee that would work with the interventionist under their direction. So, so I guess like in the medical field, you have a doctor and then you might have their PA, their assistant that would fall underneath that. So they're not a certified employee, but they help support the initiative.
All right, thank you.
And then also, everything that we do with our title money is also aligned to our district strategic plan, which rolls down to the building plan. So all of our initiatives work together. So when you want then to Title II, which was that smaller bucket, basically this is all of our professional development needs can fall into this Title II. So it's the goals of Title II are to increase student achievement, improve quality and effectiveness of teachers, principals, other school leaders, looking at improving student academic achievement in the schools and provide low-income minority students greater access to effective teachers. So this is just, again, it's to sum it up, it's the professional development for the staff.
And any of these titles that you have here where we get funding, is there anything in there that you could hire an absolute specialist? Like specialist for kids that need to learn English, Haitian kids, somebody that truly talks their language and uses English language as a second.
There's another title program that we don't take advantage of right now because the yield is really small, but Title III really kind of dives into support for English language learners.
Okay,
And our numbers, I talked to Christina earlier in the year about this, and with any of these federal programs, the amount of time that you put into to manage the monies that are coming in and the accountability that comes with it, at some point it becomes not worth it when that money is so small.
okay.
And so we're kind of right on the cusp for getting Title III dollars, but as our students who don't speak English at home increase in their proportion in our district, that Title III calculation is going to change.
Cause I know we're getting a lot of immigrants in and instead of sending people out to learn their language, why don't we bring somebody in that knows both of ours?
Yep.
And theirs specifically.
Mhm.
And
That
I
would-
think that might be a better avenue to look at.
But Title III would pay for that employee?
Well, not necessarily. So we would get an allocation
Yeah.
for that. So just like at remember the first slide that we had up here, how it had Title I was your instruction, Title
Sure.
II. So there would be a Title III. I
Okay.
know in the past, when we had looked at what that would be, it was really not an amount that you could do anything with.
So is it for, not to go too far off of this, but so would it cover something like the really high quality software where you speak into it and it,
It's about $2,000 with our numbers right now, is what we'd get. That's how little we would
Yes.
get for Title
So,
III right now.
so.
okay, well, that's.
Yeah, so we have never taken
So we'll take-
advantage of that just because of the amount of tracking and the restrictions on it, and then the amount, we really couldn't do
So
anything.
$700 administrating it, and then you're left with $1,300 to spend.
There
It
is
would be
a,
very, very minuscule. So as ELL learners become more prevalent in the schools and they however they do their formulas, we potentially could get more money in the
Okay.
future for that.
Yeah, I was just curious if
That's-
we had, like I said, a true specialist.
Yeah.
Could that get these kids up to speed quicker?
Well, we do have teachers who are specialized. We have 2 now ELL teachers who are specialized in helping students who don't speak English to be able to participate in classrooms. And we have another couple of ELL paras also
Correct.
who are kind of that. So we have a couple of teachers who are specialized in helping kids learn English. And then we have some support staff, 2 or 3 support staff in addition to that.
We also just, through the PCCD grant, purchased devices called Translate Live. And that is where you speak into the device and it translates English or I think 111 languages or something like that.
Well,
So we do have those devices.
okay, I'm sorry, I'm going off.
Bill has he's.
No, go ahead, man.
So I think that was demonstrated maybe a year ago. We had a young child here. Okay, that's right. I remember that. Thank you.
Mhm.
And that's just something, I'm not on the curriculum committee anymore, but that was something I was wondering, if there is software that the child can take home and also use bilingual curriculum software. But that's another conversation, but that's something that's, thank you. Go ahead.
I'm just curious, how many non-English languages are you having to deal with?
We don't know off the top of my head.
I know
I
you
mean,
got.
I'm sure we've got
Spanish,
Spanish. We
Yeah.
probably have a little Creole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Creole we have.
yeah.
And that's why I say if you got one teacher that was a specialist in that and English was their second language,
The international.
you may be
program?
able to really boost their productivity up.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
that's Title III anyway, then.
That was, yes, and that's why it was missing off of that
Okay,
list. So if you look at the next slide, I just provide you with some Title II examples of what we do. And this all goes into our grant application, which aligns, as I said, with our comprehensive plan and then filters down to the school level. So conferences to support the comprehensive plan, when we were looking at the goal of becoming the Lighthouse District, that's the Washington Conference specifically. We have the PASA conference on there. There's some educational subscriptions and examples, EduPlanet. We implemented letters, curriculum within the elementary school. So this provided that professional development for those teachers. Our Vector solution is the professional development we use for our staff and faculty. So that also is where that's funded from. And then any other, focus in math. We just talked about CKLA and Amplify recently. So that's where, you know, we have that curriculum and then the alignment of some of that professional development comes out of it. Some of it's paid for with title. And then finally, Title IV. So if you do have a title school, Title IV pretty much allows us to be able to expand out to some more school-wide to provide all students with access to high-quality education. So these are more of these global school-wide initiatives. So if you go to that next slide, so that like the implementation of our department program leaders. So that falls under what they call well-rounded education. So we pay for our department program leaders at all levels to be able to help monitor and write curriculum and make recommendations and just be that lead for the instructional end within the buildings. So some of your like Vector Solutions falls in there as well. So we're able to do some safe school software. There's some technology that falls in here, our PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention Program, our Swiss software, that's our tracking software that we use for our referrals. So schools can track their referrals to be able to monitor. So that falls under the Safe and Healthy Schools, our Smart Future softwares for career readiness. So that all students have access to that. So these are things that are really global across the district that we're able to use some Title IV monies for. But again, the bulk of that, when you look at the bulk, it's that Title I, having those individuals, those interventionists and those assistants to be able to do targeted intervention. That's where the meat and potatoes are at. Yes.
Can we ask questions? Question time?
I guess.
Okay. I think this is a really good overview. Thank you. If you could just take this under consideration, please. Acronyms. If you want to consider, keep your acronym in there like ELA, but then actually type out the word, what ELA stands for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Throughout this, that would be very helpful. And also, I'm really curious if it's not too much trouble, but this is just basic data, which is what we requested, and it's perfect for that. But now I'd like to see those numbers, the allocations, it may be just for this year, maybe just for last year, since it's already been spent. Pick a year. How it's broken down. So like when you see on the very first slide, you'll see the total allocation. All right. And then inside of that box, you could write, you said some of it goes to the Catholic school. Now, is that the number that's just going to Keystone, or is that the number that goes through Keystone and then we send it out to the child, wherever the school they are at?
That's our total allocation. So
For here.
So within that, there is a little bit that's earmarked, but it's very minimal when that goes to the Catholics, to the non-public schools.
Can we add that though? Whatever money is taken out of that chunk?
So you're asking for a breakdown of the total allocation.
Yes,
So
please.
salaries, benefits, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, that would
Maybe
be
we'll put
lovely.
some sort of pie chart.
The first one would be, when you see that major allocation,
Mhm.
if you take that one cell and you just broke it down into Keystone Central School District, Catholic school, charter school, whatever else is chunk is taken out of that. So the total would be the total for Keystone, total for the Catholic school, total for the charter school.
So it is, yeah, I can probably do that. I can do that for you. So some of it, there is some overlap. So like in that Title I, that 1.5 million. So we have
Yeah,
that in there, but within that, we have like one of the interventionists spends a half a day at the Catholic school, but their salary and benefit is coming out of there because we have to support them.
oh.
But I can show you the
So
breakdown.
we're paying their benefits even though they're working at another school.
There are, but we have to provide the service.
Yeah, we have to-
They're all responsibility.
Sure.
But yeah, so we have a spreadsheet already that would show you like the all the interventionists, who,
Okay.
salary benefits, everything like that, because we have to, when we submit each year for our federal funding, it has to be broken down
Sure, I understand.
to that level, but, so sure, so you want basically the expenditures for what we do with each.
That would
whereas-
be, yeah, that would be very helpful. So the acronyms and the breakdowns. And then I'm wondering, how do we know, and when I say we, I'm saying the community of Keystone, how do we know what the outcomes are? Let's say you take some funds and you send you for professional development, they go to, I'll just use the word conference. It's probably a bad example, but it's great to have this funding, but how are you assessing the outcomes? And like, is there a way the board can see the outcomes or maybe the shortfalls or something to?
Well, I think some of that you had, when we have presented the data presentation at the end of the year and you're seeing all
Yeah.
that growth, especially at the elementary level, that's going back to when you're looking at those literacy programs that we have
Okay.
implemented.
Okay.
And we're starting to see that growth in there from, kindergarten to first to second, especially with the literacy and the math. That's where
So-
this, if you take away what Title is doing, you're taking away those supports, and you would definitely see.
Well, maybe that would be helpful to talk to the administration, Megan, whoever, and when they do that end of the year report, they can, that would be very helpful, specify in their final report that these outcomes are directly related to Title I or something, so.
Well, it's a whole, it's a whole
Yeah, it's
group. I
kind
mean,
of
you
a-
can't just specify.
Okay.
It's.
It's the
how much
support of
an
Title
effect
I that
Title I has,
enhances that
because-
core
Okay.
instruction.
Right.
Okay.
So
There's-
like as a board,
Okay.
when you're approving the core instruction, the curriculum,
Mhm.
then on top of that, for our struggling learners, you have this layer of Title I that not only provides that intensive support to them, instructional, but then it provides professional support when you have the professional development that goes
Okay.
along. And then some things
So it'd
are.
be too difficult to break all that out,
Ye-
okay.
To,
Yeah,
to
no, I
really,
understand. It's not
to really
reasonable. It's
segregate
not
it, but
reasonable.
if you're looking for something to see like how we've spent our funds, like, here's 15, interventionists, salary benefits, like we do have that breakdown. We do have to track that. And then for Title II spendings, exactly what professional developments and programs, or Title IV, what overall things that we're
Okay.
funding, we can, like, all of that has to be accounted for. So I could certainly get you a breakdown.
And just also, as a reminder, when we ask to go to conferences and that sort of thing, we
Mhm.
specify the funding streams. We'll say, hey, this is paid out of
Yes.
Title II or whatever. So it's coming to you in kind of in a few different ways, how we're using those funds.
I have one last question.
Mhm.
If this district ever goes to a full pre-K or a full Saturday or summer school or something extra outside of the regular schedule, would any of these funds support that?
Title I and Title IV can both be used for that. But then we'd have to stop doing some of the things we're currently doing.
Well, that's why I was talking
Yeah.
about the outcomes. If you feel, administration knows, teachers know which ones are actually working, which ones actually aren't.
Well, I can tell you as a parent, and having a second grader, having a first grader last year that struggled with reading,
Mhm.
being able to go on a regular basis to meet with an interventionist to hit those same skills that we were trying to reinforce, that his teacher was reinforcing. Like, you can see the progress that they chart, and they do. So they'll do progress monitoring on the individuals, or if it's a group of students who are struggling with the same concept, they may work with a very small group. And when I say very small, it could be like 3 students. And then they'll do individual assessments, and then they'll progress monitor, so they can say, okay, you could identify, 3 high frequency words, and at the end of, 4 weeks, you're up to 80, something like that. So they
Okay.
have, and that's how they decide who needs the intense.
And
Sure,
I know that the principals meet with grade levels
sure.
each in their data teams. And these folks are a part of that team.
Mhm.
And so when they decide or the teachers say, well, I have 3 students that I think need some extra
Oh, sure.
help.
Team,
And so that's where
yes.
they plug
Mhm.
these people in, and then that's how they support what's being done in the classroom. And then they take, as if they need further support after the title people work with them, then that's when they move to tier 2 and on.
And
And
so forth.
for extra support
Oh.
beyond the title support.
So this is one part of many moving parts that have to work together, but it provides that one extra layer that if we didn't, I mean, I don't know where we would, if we decided, hey, we're not taking any federal funding, where we would come up with, the 1.5 to be able to provide interventionists and assistants
Sure.
to be able to deliver the quality instruction and interventions that they're doing. I mean, there's only, times are a big factor. So having the ability to have those people be able to pull groups of students and work with individuals and monitor that and support that classroom teacher, it really is a system that goes hand in hand, and it
Okay, I'm
truly
just gonna
does.
go down the rabbit hole a little farther. Stay with me, please.
Mhm.
Okay, so sitting over here as a congressperson, okay, what I'm trying to get at is if the outcomes and everything, you want more money, right? If you could, you would do better if you had more money, right?
Can have more resources.
Sure.
I mean,
Okay, well, now that we've seen this basic report, you're gonna break it down a little more for us. For us as board members to translate the need to a congressperson, okay? Would you say you would need, after you look at your outcomes and everything, you say, okay, school board, if we had 25% more funding, we could do X, Y, and Z better. Okay, that's where I'm trying to go with this conversation, because right now, this is all good data, this is all good information, but I can't use it when I talk to a congressperson, because I don't really understand what you folks, why you need more money.
So I think a better way, I
Sure,
I
please,
appreciate
go
that,
ahead,
right?
go ahead.
So when I was just talking to Congressman Thompson, we
Mhm.
talked about federal funding and that sort of thing, and I mentioned that our Title I funds in particular have gone down. Right, and so I think those kind of numbers would probably speak to them a little more than, once you get too far into the details, then they get kind of lost. But if you can say, our need is going up, but our funding is going down, and here's the specific numbers behind.
Our need
behind
is
that.
going up 17% every year for the last 5 years. And we're shortfalling and we can't get those kids back up to, I think you understand where I'm going. I can't have an intelligent conversation with someone. I can say, oh yeah, sure, we need $3 million more dollars. Okay, I'm done. But you understand. Give us something to work with.
well, I think just the fact of looking at if we're putting the majority of our money falls into Title I, and we have 9 interventionists right now, 9 interventionists for the enrollment of K through 4.
I don't have that. You
I
got it,
know,
you got it.
I know, but just saying like that would be what we would.
Yeah, give it to me.
Mhm.
Give it to us, please. Thank you. That's good. Good introduction.
Anything else on title issue, title topic? If not, we'll move on to summer rec. And this is a program that's been going on in the district, in the county for as long as I've been here and probably long before that. So it's the summer recreation program that's funded by the school district, by different municipalities, and also some of the civic groups, Rotary and what have you. They all contribute to the program. But just like everything else recently, the cost of this program, because they are paid based upon, I believe, the CBA and whatever it's being called for in the contract, these individuals that run this program every summer for 8 weeks have their wages are tied into our contracts and so on. And of course, they continue to increase. And so the school district is, as a result of that, taking on more and more of the responsibility for that cost. So I guess it's got to the point where because we are paying, I think, what is it, Joni, 20 some dollars an hour for each of these people to run this program. And we also pay a director to do that out of that funding. So the question is, since the district is picking up more and more of the cost and these other groups are not, or haven't really increased what they're contributing, we need to decide what the future of the program looks like. It is a good program. It serves a lot of kids throughout the entire county. There are several sites, different playgrounds that they go to. And then we have a person at each of these sites. And it does do, it is certainly a worthwhile program. It gives the kids some things to do through the summer for at least part of the day. And so it's not that it's not a worthwhile program, but we have to figure out, what we want to do, since the costs, of course, like everything else, is going up for rather greatly. So Joni, I don't know whether you or whoever would like, or Frank, want to add to that.
I'll just start and then maybe we'll answer your questions as we go, but
Sure,
absolutely.
please.
So Kurt actually oversees the coordinator of the program. So he's very familiar with the numbers. Christy and I just see the dollars and cents that come in at the end. So I just did a spreadsheet from last year. It cost about $70,300 to run the program. And we bring in donations of about $18,700. So at the end of the day, the program cost about $52,000 to run. And so the question became then, are we, the school district, willing to go as is? And we know that the cost of each of the instructors goes up every year according to Schedule C in the contract. But there are a couple things that we can do. We can go as is and just accept that this is what we're going to pay every year. We can reach out to additional people and get additional donations, but that's not guaranteed. We try to reach out to all of the townships, where the places where we have the park, and sometimes they give and sometimes they don't. Again, there's no guarantee. So we don't want to always say, well, we can make $70,000. I don't think that's possible. Can we narrow the gap? Maybe, but again, I don't want to, say that that's a guaranteed thing. We also looked at, and I can let Kurt and Christy also, another consideration might be, well, we don't do it 8 weeks, we do it 6. Or we look at the number of parks, look at the attendance, and reduce the number of parks we go to. Again, those are all things we're just looking for some kind of discussion, some feedback of what your thoughts are. And I'll go ahead and let kind of Kurt jump into.
You got to stretch, Kurt.
I can get it this way. How's that?
There you go.
So I guess it was COVID. And this got turned over, I guess, to the school district. And at that time, it then came to me. They said, this is under community ed. We need you to attend to this. So I asked a lot of questions. And I kept asking questions because I never had a solidified budget. Everything would go through the business office, which they're not here. So I started asking Joni last year. I said, Joni, we got to track this because this isn't making any sense to me. Like where this funding and everything's coming from. So this year we did I think a really good job of tracking everything and trying to put it in one place. Because I think previously, Jeff, and I don't know, there may have been other grants they may had through other sources. I'm not really familiar with the whole backdrop of this. I just know that I was a community ed guy, so I got the parks. So there's 22 people hired as park attendants that basically work 3.5 hours a day. 10 parks. I can give you all the parks. I'm gonna do that because I want to give you some numbers. North Bend, 10 to 12 kids a day. Renova, 20 kids a day. South Renova, 8 to 10 kids a day. Tiger Den, usually average 6. This is an average because there's more kids that signed up for it, but that doesn't mean they're there every day. This is an average. Castanea was 8, Mill Hall was 25 plus a day. Hammer Mill was 20, Piper Harmon was 8 a day, and Woolrich was 25 plus, and Wayne Township was around 9. So they were the 10 parks that were inherited when the program came down. They had 10 parks associated with this. I remember you have 2 people at every park, 3.5 hours a day. You have 2 people that float because people go on vacations. You have an activities coordinator that runs to everywhere in the county and gets out all the activities for the students for the week. And then you had a coordinator that actually was under me that actually did part of adult ed, but her biggest job was summer parks, because it's a major undertaking to hire these people, get them vetted, get them in, get them everything set up. So that person was under me. That person's no longer there because they've moved on. So that piece is sitting there. All I guess I can say is I didn't think, I didn't know where we were financially, because I didn't know what it cost to pay these people. And when we did the spreadsheet this year, I just felt we had to do something and take a look at something and bring it to you, because it's definitely an area of concern of mine. And I think you need to take a good look at it. I hope I gave you a brief background of what I know about it and what I had learned about it. Christy, you did the spreadsheet.
I think that you and Joni covered everything, though. I don't think there's anything left for me.
Sure, there's questions.
How many kids total are we talking about with this?
So well, I didn't add up the averages, but I would say you're easily, well, let me add up the top here, 20, 50, 68,
That's signups.
80, yeah. No, it's not 10, it's how many kids signed up. So there's in there 60, it's 120, 40, 160, 180. I'm gonna say you're somewhere in the mid 2s. 2 years ago, we were 300 to 400. Now
Okay,
you're in the I'm saying mid 2s going for 3, Chris, if I add up the top numbers that signed up. So if a kid attended, we had them sign up, fill out a parent thing, we had an emergency thing done, we had everything done. And then what I gave you in the bottom numbers was if 40 kids signed up for, there was 40 kids signed up for Hammermill on an average, half of them showed up.
okay.
But it could have been 10 kids one day and then 10 different ones, you know what I mean? There was
Right.
40 signed up.
Does it average like 3.5 hours a day or something?
Yeah, it runs like, it runs to like noon. So
Okay.
it's only the morning.
Cause I had a lot of questions on this, cause I looked at it. Do the parents contribute any funds towards this?
No,
No,
Nope.
And why?
It's the way it always has been, right? It
It's-
started as a county program saying, hey, we're gonna do this for the county. And then it got shifted to us.
Well, yeah, how did it, I'm sorry, go ahead. finish.
No, that was gonna be my
Yeah,
next
how did it
question.
get
How
shifted
did
to
it
us?
get
We never knew
shifted
about
to
this
to
either.
us?
yeah, and I
I
don't,
did not know that.
well,
I don't know.
Well, how?
Jeff
when
might
did
know
this
a lot
happen?
more because he's local and. been
well,
in this.
I know that Jack Bailey used to run this program for a long, long time.
Right, he was a teacher.
He was a teacher in the
Yeah.
district, and he oversaw this program for many, many years until just, I remember about 4 or 5 years ago. And I don't, every year he would give a summary at the end, like in August or September or whatever, about the attendance and all the stuff. But we never really saw what the cost factor was. But of course, back in those days, it was a whole lot cheaper to operate it. And we were getting contributions mainly from Lock Haven City and some of the other entities. But as things have evolved, and I can't answer the question either, how it ended up being mainly a school district responsibility financially, because it just kind of evolved that way over the years. And because I guess mainly it came to the school district because it is for students, for kids. And, it was a good service and it kept kids busy and kept them off the streets during the summer and gave them something productive and worthwhile to do. So I guess that was how the district was justifying paying for it. So, but at this point, it is becoming, rather expensive, as you can see, to maintain this. So, Joni listed off some of the options that, excuse me, we have that we could consider. We can-
What we have to do, though, is consider timing, because if we choose to continue it, whatever version of that, we would very directly send out donation letters. So we want to be mindful of that because people are starting to do their budgets for next year.
Yes. they are.
So they will want to allocate that money towards the program. Or we would write in the letter is that we may not have it next year due to funding. We're actually looking for suggestions, direction.
So
Where do these
ultimately,
kids come from?
all over the place. I mean, it's.
Is it our county kids
Yeah,
or?
yeah, it's, they're Clinton
Yeah.
County kids.
It's all
Okay.
throughout the county.
Yeah, so I think the direction that we're looking for is we're happy to run the program. But we need to make sure that the board understands that if you want us to continue it, you're obligating in the ballpark of $70,000 of taxpayer money to run this program. And if that's what you want to do, that's great. That's your job to tell us to operate these kind of programs. But we just want to, I think, Jeff, as you're saying, it just kind of evolved. We're here by happenstance. And one of the things that we've been talking about in the administration is we need to go from happenstance to intentional and explicit. We haven't been intentional and explicit about the funding of this program yet. So that's what I'm asking for is you give me the explicit marching orders, we're going to take care of it.
Is this an educational program or more like we're babysitting kids for 3 hours a day?
So I guess I've
A
changed it
little
a little
both.
bit because what I do is like, when Haley, who our coordinator is, she'll do crafts with them, but then also we rotate, like, if you would have watched the Facebook page, DCNR was in teacher one day.
Right.
Game commission was in, EMS, firefighting. We
So they are
brought different
learning
organizations in
But that's just one
to
day.
try to, well, we rotate them. They get at least twice a week.
So twice a week.
I
they
would
get
say,
paid.
is it a problem looking for more donations, more grants, putting letters out to other?
Not at all,
entities?
not at all. And we will continue to do that. But the guidance that we need so I think the board has to recognize that if you want us to continue the program, we're on the
Right.
hook for $70,000
Yeah.
and we're gonna do everything we can to offset that. But ultimately, the district is on the hook for the full amount and donations offset that.
Sure.
Right.
I think if to go along with what Joni said, if we send out a letter and we let these municipalities, whoever is contributing, all these townships and boroughs and so on, just make the statement, that it's becoming increasingly more costly to operate the program. The fact that, we are getting to the point where the district is, not able to continue funding at the level that we are, and that we could say, and if we don't get, if we can't get further contributions or whatever, then we may have to either look at reducing the program, cutting it back to maybe 6 weeks instead,
Mhm.
or ending it altogether. And that's not something we certainly want to do, and that would be as a last resort. But I think if they hear that that's a possibility, then maybe they'll
They'll
say,
pick up.
hey, as we're building our budget, let's put another few $100s in this or whatever that we need to contribute
What
to
if you
keep the
told
thing
them-
going.
This sounds like a good idea to me, and I fully agree with what I was gonna say, even just, how many municipalities of whatever variety are involved in this? Sounds like you've got at least
Well,
6 or 8,
That contribute, ultimately.
Well, just where kids come from.
think
Different
so.
townships and we got the
I think it's the
county,
whole
we got
county.
different
Yeah,
townships.
it is. It is the whole county, so it would.
Well, and we got Clinton County, but
Right,
you
but
could
I-
break the others too, like Lock Haven City, Mill Hill Borough, they contribute. If yes, send a letter, but backed up with a phone call saying, hey, this is a great program. Do you want this to continue for your kids? But we need help. We can't.
Is there a way that? not to
And
interrupt
they'd
you,
probably come up with something that way,
Is there a way that you could say to the parents, hey, sorry, but due to financial reasons, $10 a week?
I don't think that from a PR standpoint, I
Yeah,
think
I'd
that
rather
would
not
be
do
would be
that.
kind of a disaster because it's like asking, when we were asking kids to participate for a participation fee for athletics. I mean, it's just, it's not the optics of it. It's
Then
just,
you're asking
not
the
good.
employee to collect money, collect cash.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tally
Well,
it,
$10
keep
$10 a
track
week
of
is
it.
I
nothing.
understand, I understand.
think
For
that
some
might be a
people,
nightmare.
for some people,
It
it's
is. It is.
$10
yeah.
makes a difference.
Right.
Well, have any of you, I've been to some of I live near Mill Hall, so I see the program in Mill Hall Borough, okay? Have any of you seen the program?
Mm-mm.
Actually seen the program?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's certainly worthwhile. I mean, it gives the
I
kids
think
some
there's
things to
money
do.
out there. We just gotta
Well,
do
My
the
daughter went to it
diligence.
this summer.
okay, she liked it and she went,
Absolutely. Yep.
okay, well, the whole idea is getting the kids outside, but the weather, I mean, that's one thing I did notice is that they're under a pavilion with picnic tables, but my God, it was hot. It was horrible.
Mhm.
I mean, I can handle heat, but these little kids, you could tell that they were just, of course, there was water and everything. But being outside in 80, 90-degree heat I don't really approve like that, but it's up to the parents. But anyways, my whole point, first of all, I didn't know that Keystone was in charge of this. I'm glad we're brought it to the table. Thank you. One thing I don't like is myself as one of 9, I don't support programs that keep children busy. I don't feel that is why I was elected. Now, if you folks decide on, okay, this is the goals of the summer program, like whether it's robotics class or it's whatever it is, and change it up a little bit. I don't like the idea that it's outside in the blistering heat. I don't like that at all after seeing those kids this summer. Now I like the idea, Center County has a great summer program for kids, but they have a huge group and huge funding because it's so well done. And I think we talked about this like 4 years ago, but we had so many other priorities. Now, if the school district wants to hold on to this program, well, then it needs some definition, it needs some goals, it needs a mission, it needs something. Because just seeing those kids being babysat, and I hate to use the word babysat, and I'm not saying you're not doing a good job, Kurt, okay? But, doing arts and crafts or something out in the sun or underneath the shade, we can do a lot better. I think we either raise the bar and do something better that's actually tied to education, and it could also be tied to athletics, or we send out a notice to STEP, to the county, to all these municipalities, say, look, someone wants to take this program, here you go, because we're education. We're not a place for your kids to stay busy. I would rather see that money go into pre-K or more tutoring or something, but not just a program that does not have a defined goal, a defined mission, and set things that have to accomplish every single day.
Well, if we maintain the program, then that's up to the person that is the coordinator or whatever their title is to develop whatever it is with the activities and so on.
Not if it's our program.
Well, yeah, but we're paying for it. That's what I'm saying. If we're paying a director, then they have to come up with how the program is going to look. And I disagree with you. I think they should be. It's good that kids are outside. We got them off. If they're not, what are they doing? They're sitting on a screen at home somewhere. So I would rather
I
have
see
them
that point.
outside and doing some, I'm
But is
sure they
that-
just don't sit there and do arts and crafts. I'm sure they play kickball. They do some other things
Sure.
that are out there, and it keeps them active. It keeps them from sitting in front of a screen, which the rest of the kids are doing through the summer.
No, I see that
Well,
point, but is it the mission of the school district to do that because we're already doing it 180+ days per year is what I'm saying. And if, like I said, I would support it if there was very specific mission, very specific goals. And, you know, the fact that we have these they're high quality employees, but do we need employees that have such a high skill set and such a high price? Isn't that something else we should be thinking about? There is the YMCA. Why don't we work with the YMCA? Say, hey, look, we've got this program, you interested? I mean, there's other entities out there. Me personally, I don't feel that this is a Keystone Central School District issue. Is it important for these families? Yes. Is it our responsibility? I say no, because we have so many other things that we need to work on. And I also don't like the fact that, and this is me speaking personally, I don't like the fact that our CTC director all of a sudden gets this when he's already up to here and he still wants to expand our program, which I fully support. So if it's taking even 5% of his time every year, that's 5% that's not going into CTC. So, any questions?
I think I understand what Kurt's saying. They are learning. They got organizations, Game Commission, DCNR coming in. So the kids are learning. They're getting outside. I fully agree with that. They need to. They need to put their phones and stuff away and
I
they
agree.
need to,
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
need to get grounded a bit.
Absolutely.
My thing, and like you, Dr. Redmond said about funding, I think we could probably get some grants to help. Community Foundation may step in and help. There's other places that could probably help with this. And I think us beating on some doors would be a good way to get started because I didn't even know this program existed. And I'm sure that there's other places that don't even think about it. So I think we should look into that. Send some letters out.
Well, I agree with that. I think the grant idea is a good one, but I don't know. That's not something that happens overnight. I think what we need to do is go back to the original thing, send out some letters and send them to everybody. Because I'm looking here, the whole borough contributed, Pine Creek Township, Chapman Township, and that was about it. So
Right.
there are a lot of other
Yeah.
There's a
entities
lot of
that
boroughs
my
need
point.
to
municipalities.
be kicking in
Yeah.
on this program. And we just need to tell them,
And
if we don't get further support from the other groups, then
We
I'm
can't
afraid
do
that
it.
the program's future is in
In
doubt.
jeopardy.
So,
you know,
and then follow up with phone calls. Like
I
you said.
agree, you know, and.
I mean, it's all taxpayer dollars regardless.
True.
There's two notable, I mean, missings, absent without leaves here, is a UPMC and this meat
Geisinger.
packing
Oh, they hate us.
plant
They
that,
hate us.
if they're doing that much money, they can kick in. It's really, I mean, for us, we're straining at a budget anyway, but $70,000 over 8 weeks is not that much, and if these guys could kick in something, I think it's worth a try. Let's see where we go. Give it
Well,
a-
actually.
And if next year we find out we're not getting anywhere, we may have to reevaluate it.
Actually, we're at 51, 60.
Well, that's if we get the same donations.
Yeah.
Okay, as Frank said, we got a plan as if we're paying $70,000 and
Well, this is,
And I think that we could do that. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
this was something else I learned is that they don't feed them lunch. They don't feed them breakfast. They have snacks. So again, I think I'm sorry, I'm being so strong about this, but if the Keystone Central School District School Board wants to maintain this program, at the very least, mission statement, goals, and feed the kids. Okay? And then whatever else comes, but I personally think this is something more that a church should be doing or the YMCA should be doing. I don't see this as a district responsibility. I'm not saying it's not important, but I don't see this as a district responsibility.
It was,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I think if we use this year as a test, send out the information,
Mhm.
tell them this program is kind of on the ropes right now in so many words. And say, if we want it to continue, the school district is pretty much reaching its maximum effort. And if we don't get any more contributions, more support from all of these entities, and the ones, that are contributing, if they can kick in a little bit more, then, we may not be able to continue this into the future and reevaluate it next year at this time and see exactly where we are dollar wise. And at that point, then we say, we're going to shrink the program. We're going to do whatever we have to do with it. But I would want to give a shot here at, personally, would like to give it a shot and see what we can get and see what response you get.
So run it as is, 8 weeks, same parts. The goal of this now is to reach out to and see what.
And I think we can do some things like we're looking for a particular funding level, like we're looking for 50% funding from the community.
Right.
If we don't reach the 50%, then we're going
Exactly.
to reduce the number of sites or something like that. So we can,
You
we're
can
gonna
work
take
out
that
the-
on, we can
You're
work
gonna
out
have
what
to
that
do
letter
that.
looks like.
I
but-
totally
food.
agree with that. I think that's a
Food.
great way to approach it.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's a good
That's-
idea, Frank.
That's a good compromise, but food, these kids aren't getting fed, they're given snacks.
Well, that's gonna push things in the other direction. I mean, I don't know what to do about the funding on that. I mean, that's gonna,
That's not as much.
It's
It's only
concern
3
to
hours.
me,
A
you know,
parent
they're-
can send a
yeah.
sandwich or something.
Unless
First
you-
Quality donates water. I know we try to get Weiss cards. They donate $25 Weiss cards. So I know we go out and try to get those for the snacks and things. So we do try to go out and minimize.
Well, maybe in the funding request, maybe that's something to consider saying, look, $10 will feed this child. Okay, we have X amount of kids. Can you put money towards that or something? However you want to word it, like you folks know how to do this. I know you do. I just, again, I'm sticking, I agree, it's a good compromise, try it for another year. But the fact that the kids are signing up, but they're not showing up, why? Okay, I'm done. Thank you. Good conversation.
All right, moving on. The adequacy funding acceptable expenditures. This is the extra dollars that we got from revenue we got from the state
Yes.
this past year, or for this current school year rather. And I think the question was brought up for somewhere along the line that how and what can these dollars be used for? And so I think that's what Joni has put together here, what their possible use for them are and or is. And so I will,
We currently receive about $770,000 of Ready to Learn block grant, it's called. We've received that amount, same amount since I've been here years and years. Last year, we received the additional $489,000 as part of the adequacy funds. And what we have used the Right to Know grant prior was for full day kindergarten. So we offset kindergarten academics with the Right to Know, Ready to Learn block grant of the $770,000. So what we did was we just took the additional $489,000 and applied it again to full day kindergarten to again offset those salaries, those academics, the kindergarten academics. So it costs estimating somewhere around $2 million for kindergarten salaries across the whole district wide. So if you take the 770 and the 489, it's 1.12 to offset against the kindergarten academics. So that is what we use the money for.
What is an adequacy school district?
That is a school district like ourselves who, so I had done a presentation, it was up in Renovo, saying when we learned that we received additional funds. And do you remember me talking about the formula they used for school districts? It was the 66th percentile and the 33 percentile. Remember me talking about that?
Yeah.
And the 33 percentile was anyone who was at 1.27. Anybody at that level, that's that 33 percentile, would receive funding. So between 33 and 66%, you would receive funding. So at 1.27, we were at 1.31.
Okay.
So we received this amount through, this is through a calculation through PDE of 1 year of expenditures and your ADMs, your average daily membership, acronym, average daily membership of students. And they did a calculation of how much a student would cost, and that was our allocation. Also remember though, I talked about that the reason why we are at 1.31% was because of our local effort rate. So they take into account, does your county tax at the level it should tax? If you fell below that 1.27%, they would take away some of your money until you reach that 1.27%. So we're at 131. So they thought we adequately tax at the level we should for our county.
Okay.
So again, that needs to be taken into consideration. Had we not taxed like we did throughout the years, we may have fell below that. And that means they would have taken away funds that we would have been given. So we have to be careful of that. Also, you have to be careful, there's that 60 percentile. So say 1 year we taxed at 100%. Well, what if that's the 1 year they took snapshot and saw that we taxed at 100% and said, oh, they don't need it because they're taxing at 100% because it's above the 66. So again, it goes back to the understanding to tax steady, instead of up and down, the roller coaster tax effect. So again, I just wanted to throw it out there. So it was a great question. So I was glad our school district was, we were allowed to apply for that and receive that.
Wasn't the impetus for this it didn't come from the court decision, or was this something different?
I think, yes, I think
I
it
mean,
was
it
derived from the
was
whole.
kind of their half-baked way of
Yes, just
addressing that.
Band-aiding it. They're Band-aiding it at the moment. Yes, it is absolutely stemming from the court
Which
of,
they should have
inequality
done a
in-
lot more.
absolutely.
Well, this is only a
Education
start.
funding.
That's not done though, right?
What's that?
Fair funding thing. That's not,
The fair funding, well,
okay, never mind.
we'll
It's another
see.
conversation.
we'll see
One
where
of
that
the
goes.
things
but-
on this list towards the bottom is summer learning programs.
But that's
Could that
education.
help with the other
That's what
one?
I'm talking about.
Well, here's the issue then, that we don't provide that.
That's
So
right.
that's additional money that we would need then. So ESSER grant, ESSER funds, we had Keystone Camp, Credit Recovery, After School Academy. We funded all of those with ESSER funds. So that was money that we did not use originally. We didn't supplant anything. We used those monies because it was 20% learning loss. So we
Okay.
funded all of those programs through ESSER funds. Well, once ESSER went away, we couldn't fund those programs anymore. So what we did here is we used these funds to offset,
Right,
for budgetary reasons, to offset expenditures we already had and need. Full day kindergarten is an absolute need.
right.
So we used the extra money to offset that.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on that?
Would you just do me us a favor, just in the, spell out what RTL stands for?
Ready to learn. But
Yes,
okay,
thank
I
you.
will.
I appreciate that. I know,
Great,
I know
Joanne.
the acronyms are,
Fair enough.
thank you.
Okay. Moving on. The number 4 is Joni's going to update us on our interest earnings on our investments.
Okay, so I took a couple of recommendations Elizabeth had last time about averages and adding additional accounts. So I went ahead and the First National, that's just our general fund, the average balance in there is $2 million, which we keep in there. We only keep that amount in there because it earns the lowest amount of interest. So you can see what I mean by that. In 22-23, it was 146,000. Then it dropped in 23-24 to only 40,000 because I keep moving money out so that the money stays in the higher interest bearing accounts. And as of 24-25, there's $10,000 in there. And then the next account is the CD, which is the $7 million. This pays interest quarterly. So as you can see, if you want me to go down and say the numbers, but if you have any questions about that, the total interest though for 22 through 25 is about 550,000. Now remember, we did move out 372,000 of it in 23-24, which we moved to the capital fund.
Mhm.
The next one is the money market account, and that one averages a little over 4%. That's where the money gets moved to in the general fund, and we sweep it in and out of those accounts. Total there for all 3 years is 601,000. So if you take the 550 and the 600,000, we've made 1.1 in interest over those couple of years, which is pretty good.
No, it's really good, especially since the rates have been, were down, and then they went up a little bit. So, oh, go ahead.
So crazy enough, the 3-month rate is higher than the 12-month rate, which is nice for us because then we can, if we need that money shifting in and out, then it's easier it's more liquid. And then I just added the Fund 39, that was the Liberty Curtain project. As you see, the starting balance was the bond money, the 9.5. And 23-24, because we just received that bond money, we made 155,000. We've made 27,000 this year. Our balance right now is $79,000. But as we speak today, we will be receiving the other 9.5 for the bond money that was just approved. So that'll hit our bank account today.
The numbers you have there, the 79,000, that's what's left out of the first 9 million.
Correct.
Okay,
That is correct.
and that's just interest earned?
I'm sorry. So your interest is the 155,830 in 23-24.
Okay,
In 24-25, it's 27,000. That's what's earned since July to 9/30 till
Okay.
September was 27,000. Then I just went on to tell you what the balance was as of 9/30. The
Right.
balance was 79,000.
okay.
So that
And
gives you
when,
an overview.
when you get the new bond money that everybody voted in, that'll go back into that. and that will
Absolutely.
jump that
Correct.
Back up again.
Absolutely. And what I'll do then every finance meeting is I'll show you the starting balance and then where we are as of that end of
That
that
would be
month.
really helpful.
Yeah,
Joe.
that'd be helpful.
Good job.
You're welcome.
All right. Moving on, number 5, Enterprise Resource Planning System Recommendation.
Okay,
So-
this is the, and I spelled that out.
I noticed, thank you. ERP.
Yes, yes, I did. I spelled that out. So this is the accounting system that we have been looking at for, I'm going to say a couple of years. And now we took the time this past year with the business office. Christie's been instrumental in getting the companies in. They've provided presentations. They actually flew in, provided presentations, allowed us to use their software, hands-on, lots of help back and forth. And we looked at 3 different types of software. I do want to make one note, though. This is for a service, the school district for a service. So we are not required to do requests for proposals because it is a unique service that we need. It needs to meet specific needs of our school district. So we are not required to do any kind of request for proposal. I just double checked that with the solicitor just to make sure, but he was absolutely behind that. So we looked at Skyward, the CSIU, and Tyler Technologies. And so what I wanted to do was break down, without getting too much in the weeds, I just compared what we have now, which is this EMS link, and you see all the modules that are attached. Then I took the new, and it's called ERP Pro. It includes all the modules we already have, plus employee reimbursement, fixed assets, grant and project tracking, online shopping, applicant tracking, and onboarding, on and offboarding, like recruiting new employees, onboarding. Offboarding is when either retire or leave. So what we are trying to do, again, was take the system we have now, replace it totally, but what other systems, what other software can we also replace that we're using out here? And so that was a couple of those frontline systems that we use, like recruiting and hiring, absent management, and so forth. So we're trying to look at replacing those systems as well. So the easiest way for me to show you, the first one is just a brochure. So if you want to look at your leisure at the
yep.
brochure, the next one is the actual quote. But what I did, I'll open up this one and I will show you, and I will share my screen. I'm gonna have Christy jump in. And she was, like I said, she was instrumental in getting this whole, working with the business office. They were very, very much hands-on because at the end of the day, they're the ones, the payroll, the benefits, HR, accounts payable, accounts receivable. They're the ones who are in the weeds, getting in this program every day. So I'll go ahead and let Christy jump in.
Okay, so Joni put together this spreadsheet that when you look at it, it's color coded. EMS Link is who we currently have. We call them Alio. So if I say Alio, I apologize. It's EMS Link. And then School ERP Pro is who we're looking at possibly going to. And then Frontline is also who we have. So you can follow along with the colors that it's all tracked right there. For the 24-25 cost, it is a little bit, it's $119,511. And then when you drop down to the 25-26 cost, the 24-25 does not have the School ERP Pro. The 24-25 is exactly how we're being ran right now.
So we were gonna project to go live July 1, 2025. So that's why there isn't any cost at all in this year's fiscal year.
Thank you. The 25-26 is with implementing School ERP Pro or Tyler Technology. And you can see that will increase the cost significantly to $259,973 for the year. Because we would still need to keep Alio, we're estimating about 6 months for the audit. So we will still need to do some journal entries per our auditors, and it would just be much easier and probably a cleaner way of entering the journal entries if we enter them in Alio or EMS Link. And then we will still have Frontline for 24-25. And then when we go to the 26-27 year, we would drop EMS Links because we would no longer need it. And then we also would drop time and attendance with Frontline. We are hopefully, if you jump down to the 27-28 cost, that's our goal to be only with School ERP Pro. So it's the way the implementation goes. So you don't want to you don't want to eat the whole pie at the one time. You want to introduce it piece by piece, because if you don't, you want to make sure that you have a good understanding and you have all your information in the system and that it's functioning the way that it should before you drop off a piece that you're using.
Are there's been so much talk over this program that has been bought before we were here and whatever. Are we using that to the full extent of it, or are we?
Our current program?
Yeah,
It is antiquated. It is hard to use. It's complicated. It is not a school district driven accounting software.
okay.
It was purchased 15 years ago, maybe. And
Well, I thought you had said it was new.
Didn't we bought something 2 years ago?
we did, that's a different program. That uses these, it is part of Frontline. It is part of Frontline. That's Forecast
analytics.
5. And that's more of a reporting where we can get reports out of our software and out of PDE information. That
Okay.
was not the accounting software. This is the
Oh,
software we
okay.
use every day to do payroll.
Right.
And so this is a system we've had for years. And like I said, they're trying to do upgrades, but their support, they were bought out. They used to be called Weidenhammer Alio. They were bought out. Their customer service is terrible. We can't get anybody. They've also laid everybody off that had knowledge of the old system. So you can't get your questions answered. And we're just left in the dark a lot of times. Bidding and purchasing sometimes is a nightmare. And so we kind of saw the writing on the wall, and now is really the time to move. Can we use it? Absolutely. We can use it. But is it efficient, streamlined? Does it coordinate with other programs? No, it doesn't.
That's,
One example,
That's-
if I
go ahead,
can,
go ahead.
one example with the School ERP Pro that just blew me away. So from the time an employee applies for a job, they're entering their information to apply for this job. Now we select that employee for the job. That's all. I'm not sure who's responsible, if it would be HR, payroll, or benefits. That's all they would have to do is make that person an active employee. and all their information will transfer over. So nobody would have to enter that information again. It all automatically transfers over. And then another thing is there's an online benefit enrollment package. So when employees enroll in benefits, their applications will automatically go to our vendors. Right now, we're either having to fax them or enter the information on websites ourselves. And it's a cleaner process, I think, if only one person is touching the information.
It's time consuming.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Things get lost.
No, you don't have, yeah. You
Things
type
get
the wrong.
dropped. Yeah.
So this is something that Rob Pasella and I were talking about when we first started. He really wanted to, this is just an example. How many hours his crew is mowing the grass, how much gas, how much maintenance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to mow an acre of grass. I mean, he really wanted, and I was like, you go. So he said, but currently, like you were just saying, purchasing, his system wasn't integrating in with your office's system, so things were done twice, I guess is the right way.
Mhm.
Would this work for facilities?
Not to that extent
Oh,
at all. This is
okay.
finance, accounting.
Okay,
But Sam would be all on board with that. He absolutely would like to track more so maintenance.
well, that's, I
We
just
have
gave
10
an
pieces of
example.
equipment. Yeah, when does it need maintenance? I mean, he's working towards that. I don't think those two systems would
Ever.
tie in together. No,
Okay.
that's just information that's not needed in the
So-
financial world.
So does Sam then, if this doesn't work for facilities, except for purchasing, if this doesn't work for facilities, then facilities would need to come to us through you,
They would.
We have-
what software they would
absolutely
We
use.
we have a system for that in place.
Oh, it's all
hasn't-
good?
It's not implemented because it takes tons of hours to get all that information put in. So Sam and I are working on how to.
It's
how to
there
get
though.
all
We
that-
own it.
Yeah, we have the program.
Okay,
and
because
it's
I
all-
remember that's what
Yep.
Rob was talking about,
We
but I
own
didn't know
it.
if we
Yep,
ever,
we have it.
okay.
We have it. Now we're just trying to figure out how to. free
Give
up-
it to give it to a kid, just give it to a kid. I'm not kidding. I'm
Yeah.
not
How many,
kidding.
how many of
Being
these different
serious.
programs like this do we have? And if you go to this one, are we dumping the old one?
Well, so that's
Right.
where I wanted
Yep,
you to
yep.
see.
You're gonna
So the
phase those
top one
out.
is where we are right now. So
Right.
right out the door this year, it's gonna be 120,000. I'm gonna round 120,000. We're gonna use a current Alio and we have these three frontline packages: recruiting, time and attendance, and absent management. Absent management tracks your leave, like if I want to take off a day, I take off, I'm taking a vacation day, and it logs it into the system. Well, that
Right.
doesn't talk to our financial system, so it has to be logged in twice.
Okay,
I'm a teacher and I don't need a sub, but a teacher would need a sub. So I have to log it into this system and this system to get a sub.
right.
And then recruiting and hiring, like Christy said, that's a whole different completely system. So we hand enter it in over here and over here.
Mhm.
The next year, we're going to have like that 66,000 is all the modules, the maintenance fee of all the modules, which is the same as the 73,000 up above for Link.
Mhm.
That maintenance fee of 66 is the same thing. We're paying for the modules of the maintenance. The 120,000 is all the implementation. That's
Okay.
going to take to transition over all of the information. As you see, though, we lost recruiting and hiring from up above because we gained applicant tracking through one of our Pro modules. So we lost that right away. That $10,000, that $9,000, we won't pay that. We don't need that program anymore.
Okay,
So we are taking that into consideration. But we still have to keep time and attendance. That is for hourly employees. They clock in so we can automatically track their time.
right.
That's actually a piece of the Alio software. That's not even integrated in Alio. That's a piece of the software right now. And that's what we're saying. We don't want to do it all at one time because that's a huge undertaking.
Right.
Now, we might not need a year for that. We might only need 6 months for that. But I just said, worst case is we might have to pay 25,000, but we might not need it for a year and only pay half of that.
So when you get down to like 27 and 28,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much the other systems are gonna be
Will- Should
gone.
be
Mhm.
gone. And so in 26, 27, you see that frontline absent management.
Right,
I don't think we'll need it in that year. I think we'll get it up here in 25, 26, but I'm not positive. The bigger issue, so when I go in and put a leave in, that's actually part of the program up above. So if
Okay,
it were just about me putting a leave in, then we would be fine. The problem is the subsystem, the teacher subsystem. It's hooked to our leaves. And this program doesn't have a subsystem in it. So we're trying, and actually Brian from Tyler Technologies is online. He can speak to that, but we're trying to figure out how to tie those things together.
Because
We
it's
want
a
to be
separate-
streamlined as possible.
So will this work? So it doesn't work with our third party. This is the way I'm understanding. It doesn't work with our third party substitute company because they have a different program. Is that pretty much it? So then what about the bus transportation? Will this do anything with bus transportation or is that
No,
just
that's
separate
a totally
sub-
separate, that really doesn't, yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
completely
really
different
high level.
software.
That does bus routes and,
Okay,
yeah, that's
All right.
completely
well, I think,
different.
if this company, does this company also support security or is this company saying security is up to you folks, you gotta deal with your own security. Does it come with a security package?
So it's out there on the cloud, like if something
Sure, that's what I'm
happened,
saying.
we are, and I had technology completely look at this program. They're very pleased with how they are set up.
So we won't have to
secure.
buy more security or something else that's
No, absolutely
that's-
not.
great. I'm sold. Just get it done tomorrow.
We all feel the same way.
And I did, the business office is aware that it's gonna be a lot of work
Of course it is,
transitioning over, but they are excited.
but I think this
Super excited.
company, if you say their support is so good, they may even help you get past that mountain faster.
I believe they will. And we
Because it's
talked
more money in
to,
their pocket. I
um,
mean,
was it Hughesville?
Montour's.
Montoursville has this package, and I talked to the business manager down there. And she was very pleased. Now, they're a year in, and so
Mhm.
there was obviously kinks. There's always gonna be bumps and
Of course.
kinks when you implement anything, but very pleased with the software.
Yeah.
But I would just want to give you very much transparent on what the cost, worst case, this is what it would look like. So understand next year in 25, 26, I will be budgeting for these dollars per approval of the board.
I understand.
One more really neat thing that I want to mention. So right now, whenever the building secretaries go out and a teacher wants to buy something from Amazon, they'll give the order to this building secretary and go out and go into the Amazon cart and you have to add everything to the cart. And then you go into Link and you have to enter the purchase requisition. With School ERP Pro, you go out to Amazon and I'm not exactly sure how it works, but you put your order into Amazon and it automatically links to the PO. You don't have to enter it here or purchase it here and then enter it here. It automatically just filters over. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Wow, 21st century.
And I would bet, I don't know this for sure, but I would bet probably other, not just Amazon.
No,
other
No, they have
online.
I think it's 150 different vendors. I think I might be a little off, but 150 different online vendors that you can do that with. Julie found one today. Quill works with School ERP Pro and we use Quill.
And it's great because then we can go out and obviously do some comparison shopping. Amazon
Mhm.
might not be the
Yep.
best price and is Quill the better price. And so that allows us to actually easily,
Mhm.
more efficiently go out there and make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck.
I was hoping you'd say there'd be a comparison to do.
Great. This is wonderful. Well,
Yeah, I like the phase-in plan here. It's goes at it slowly and
Mhm.
make sure everybody's very comfortable with it.
Mhm.
You
Well,
do it,
we-
do
once
it a
it's
step
board
at a time.
approved, we will go fast and furious into the implementation stage so that we can get Tyler, Tech wants to get us all set up. That's why we're, over 6 months is a perfect plan. We're not rushing into anything. July 1 makes sense. It's the beginning of the fiscal year. So it just made sense.
Right, you don't want to overwhelm everybody, so. Okay,
Can we
anything
go?
else? Anything else on that?
May I add something real quick? As we were sitting here, I got an email from DCED. If you'll recall, we applied for
Yeah,
a
a
grant. We were not successful. So we were not on the list. What I noticed on the list of approved grants is that almost all of them were $1 million or less. There were a few that were over that. We asked for 4 million and change. So I think our ask was a little bit too big for how they allocated for school districts.
They
So
wanted more projects, less money.
That's
for
that's
cost.
kind of what it looked like. I wasn't in the room, so I don't know, but just kind of looking at what they approved. They also said that there's $820 million in requests and there is $175 million budgeted.
Well, you made, you know, you got through the first cut, so that was huge, you know, that was huge.
Okay.
It's just-
No, it is, but
Well, I think we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do about the HVAC for the high school, because it is a clear and present need. We don't have any.
Well, it's like the grant we were looking for the safety stuff. We
Yeah,
got turned
right.
down on that.
COPS grant, we also were not
Yeah,
successful.
Yeah, today, 2 in 1 day.
Yeah, 2 in 1 day, ouch. On that note,
Happy. Unless anybody has anything else, I entertain motion to adjourn
Right.
at 4:26. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Did you get any diving in, Frank?
Yeah, let's get it out.